Hey folks, welcome to my second devlog. Haven't posted anything in a while because I've only been like modeling and texturing, so I didn't just want to post anything just about modeling and texturing. However, I'm leaving Spell Collective next week, so early this week I like gathered all my assets together and made like a demonstration to show the rest of the people here what I've been up to. And yeah, so this devlog is going to reflect, all the stuff that I've worked on these last few months. Now, as mentioned, most of my time spent here was just in modeling and texturing assets. Now, originally, right, I wanted to keep the asset production time low by using low polygon models, and then any necessary detail will be provided by, the textures, the pixel art style textures. So while the models are, pretty straightforward to create, right? In order to get the kind of detail that I wanted, the texture maps, a lot of time had to be spent. So it takes me an average of like 4 to 5 hours to get a texture done. So while I save time on the modeling side, right, I still need to spend a fair amount of time while texturing, right, to get the amount of detail that I want. So here's a quick breakdown of the various layers I use in Aseprite. So I would have, this is the UV layout as the top layer as a reference. Then I would have like a base color. So in this particular case, right, it's only like one solid base color, but depending on the object, right, I might have various like big blocks of color here for the object. I'll have one layer for like the fine details, and the fine details here, right, although it's only just one layer, right, it's because it's collapsed. Normally, I will have like like several working layers before I collapse down to the final one. Then on top of that, I'll put like a noise layer in multiply mode just to give the effect that it's not just a solid color, but there's some variations to the colors. And there's also a grunge layer. Just put a grunge texture just to subtly provide some breakup. And yep, that's pretty much all the layers I'm using. I also added a new mechanic to the game. I allow the submarine to move over objects and pick up items, and later they can be deposited at specific locations. So in this example here, right, I find a battery, and then once I'm over it, right, the icon changes so that it indicates that I can actually pick it up. Once I've picked it up by pressing the button, I can move to, like, for this case, right, it's a battery pad. And once I put it down on the battery pad, it powers up the data vault. Once it's powered up, right, I can scan it and get an access key of it that can be used to open up some of the other doors. Now, for a lot of the terrain, right, I'm just using like procedural setups to quickly generate the kind of terrain that I need. So this is like the stalagmite formations. I got some controls, for example, right, like setting up how high I want the formations to be. This is 5, too big, okay, maybe I want a low one and stuff like that. Let's say 7 for here. And there's this, like, I can control how wide the base is and stuff like that. So for example, like the base is 2, I set it to 1 if I want more narrow. But I wanted like a big base, right, so they can like melt into each other. And I can control like tip size and stuff like that. So yep, exponent here controls like how whether it's linear or not. So if I set it to 1, it's a pretty linear. And setting in it, you get this kind of like curve shapes. All right, so just to quickly go over like how I mesh this, right? So once I've got this like pile of stalagmites, quickly subdivide it. I apply a mountain, right, just to give it a bit more texture. Polyfill to fill up the bottom so that I can convert this mesh, right, to a volume. So now this is like a single volume from all of these primitives, and I convert it back into a mesh. So now it's like a single mesh, and we don't have any like occluding intersecting polygons here. And I remesh this, so we get pretty clean polygon output. And just one final step, right? I just clip it here, so we don't really need the base there. Another tool that I created is this exporter tool that allows me to quickly set udim positions for the exporter UVs. Now, for those who are not familiar with UVs, right, like in general, when you work on a 3D model, right, each model usually has a UV coordinate system. So it's usually like 0 to 1 here. But if you're working with a udim system, right, or in Unreal's case, I'm using like virtual texturing, so you need your textures to be, you know, created in like a proper space. So like, you know, in order to, okay, for example, this is udim position 0, you know, I can go to 1, whatever position I need. So this automatically, you know, puts the UV in the correct position for the necessary, you know, udim location. Previously, right, what I was doing was just simply using like a UV edit swap, like this UV edit swap, you know, so I had to like manually think of, you know, I need, you know, udim number 4, so I need to shift it like 3 spaces to the right and something like that. So while this is fine if you're only having like, you know, 4 or 5 you know, udims here, right, if I'm actually like, you know, I'm at like 20 something textures, so it's like, you know, the texture may need to be here, you need to, you know, 3 to the right, 3 up or something like that. So it gets, I made like some errors, like overwriting stuff, putting the textures in the UV coordinates in the wrong place. So in order to reduce this kind of errors, right, I made this exporter tool. So all I need to do is now simply put in a udim position, and it would, you know, move the UV coordinates to the proper place. And since, you know, setting up the UVs for export, right, is like the very last stage before I export to Unreal, right, I thought, you know, it'd be easier to also set up some kind of export function that saves me time. So instead of, you know, previously I would have like a ROP, a geometry export like this. So, you know, I would need to, you know, manually fill in the entire path here, including, you know, the file name, and that also causes some errors. So with this new exporter tool, right, all I need to do is just set the directory as well as the name of the object I want to see in Unreal, right? And just hit this button, save to disk, and it will, you know, generate the proper udim position. And as well, right, inside this particular asset, I have my another tool. This is export to Unreal. This tool basically sets the proper scale, orientation, and stuff like that, and then it has some features to like remove tiny pieces if you know, don't want them and stuff like that. This is normally off. Yep. So, you know, with this tool, right, it's so much easier, and I make like a lot less mistakes. So I think that's it for this devlog. I'm actually taking some time off from working on the game, right? Because I'm going to the UK to visit some friends, and I'm also going to spend the time learning Pico 8. Yeah, because like I don't really have a laptop. I bring my full PC, and Pico 8 runs on the tablet I got. So I'm going to learn Pico 8 for game jams while, you know, I'm visiting friends and stuff like that. So hopefully, if you enjoy this, please, you know, give me a like and subscribe, and, you know, maybe check out my game when it's done. All right, hope you folks have a good day.